Africa, baby. The sun was hot, the air was thick, the kind of heat that makes you feel like you're walking through soup. The savannah stretched out endlessly, a vast expanse of golden grass and acacia trees. It was beautiful, but it was also unforgiving. The kind of place where you had to be tough to survive. Ronny and the guys were on a mission. Not just any mission, but one that had been in the works for months. They had talked about it over countless beers, planned every detail, and now, finally, they were here. The excitement was palpable, but so was the tension. This wasn't just a walk in the park, it was a test of their skills, their endurance, and their friendship. Hunting trip. They'd been planning this for months. Every piece of gear had been meticulously chosen, every route carefully mapped out. They knew the risks, but they also knew the rewards. The thrill of the hunt, the camaraderie, the stories they would tell for years to come. This was what they lived for. Big Jim, the self-proclaimed expert tracker, was leading the way. He had a knack for reading the land, for spotting the signs that others might miss. He was confident, maybe a little too confident, but that was part of his charm. He had a way of making you believe that everything was going to be all right, even when you knew it might not be. Then there was Carl, quiet but deadly with a slingshot. He didn't say much, but when he did, you listened. He had a calmness about him, a steadiness that was reassuring. You knew that if things went south, Carl would be the one to keep his cool, to find a way out. He was the kind of guy you wanted on your side. And me, always ready for a good laugh. I was the joker of the group, the one who kept things light when they got too serious. I knew how to make the guys laugh, how to break the tension. It was my job to remind them that no matter what happened, we were in this together. We were a team, and we were going to make it through. We were cruising in our trusty Jeep, a real beast of a machine, except when it wasn't. It had seen better days, but it had also seen us through some tough times. It was more than just a vehicle, it was a part of the team. We had a love-hate relationship with that Jeep, but we wouldn't trade it for anything, which, as luck would have it, was about to happen. The Jeep sputtered and coughed, and then it died. We were stranded, miles from anywhere, with nothing but our wits and our gear. It was a setback, but it was also an adventure. We knew we would find a way out because that's what we did. We were survivors. The plan was simple: find some wild game, have some laughs, and hopefully avoid becoming someone else's lunch. We knew the risks, but we also knew the rewards. The thrill of the hunt, the camaraderie, the stories we would tell for years to come. This was what we lived for. Little did we know the African bush had other plans. It was a place of beauty and danger, of life and death. We were about to find out just how unpredictable it could be. But that was part of the adventure, part of the thrill. We were ready for whatever came our way because we were Ronny and the crew, and this was our story. We were deep in the bush, miles from civilization. Suddenly the engine coughed like a bad burrito on a Tuesday. Smoke started billowing from under the hood. Big Jim, ever the optimist, declared it a minor setback. Turns out, minor setback is code for we're stranded. We popped the hood and hot air slapped us in the face, like opening an oven, except the oven was our broken down Jeep. Turns out we were out of water. For the radiator, not for drinking. Though, at that point, we were pretty thirsty too. Big Jim, ever the leader, pointed a finger at me. "Ronny, you're the youngest! Go find some water!" Now, I ain't scared of much, but being sent alone into the African wilderness, that's a different story. Armed with an empty water bottle and a whole lot of fear, I set off towards a shimmering spot in the distance. Big Jim called it a dam. I called it potential hippo hangout. The sun beat down on me, turning my skin the color of a well-done steak. Every rustle in the bushes sounded like a lion planning its next meal. And let's not even talk about the bugs. They weren't just big, they were practically small birds with an appetite for human flesh. Nature's hazards, from dung to donkeys. I dodged piles of dung, probably left by elephants who mistook me for a walking trash can. The forest floor was a minefield of these smelly obstacles, and I had to be extra careful with every step I took. The last thing I wanted was to end up with elephant dung on my shoes. It was a comical yet nerve-wracking experience trying to navigate through this natural hazard. A group of baboons hooted at me from a nearby tree, probably making fun of my walk. Their laughter echoed through the forest, adding to my embarrassment. These cheeky creatures seemed to enjoy my predicament, and I couldn't help but feel like the butt of their jokes. Their animated gestures and loud calls made it clear that they were having a field day at my expense. And then there were the zebras. They looked all graceful and elegant until one of them sneezed. It was a majestic sight watching them graze peacefully in the savannah. Their black and white stripes stood out against the golden grass, creating a picturesque scene. But that serene moment was short-lived, right on me. Just when I thought things couldn't get worse, I stumbled upon a watering hole. The sneeze caught me off guard and I was left wiping zebra snot off my face. It was both hilarious and gross, a moment I wouldn't forget anytime soon. I decided to move on, hoping for a bit of respite. But it wasn't empty. A bunch of donkeys were chilling there, sipping water like they owned the place. They seemed so relaxed, completely at ease in their surroundings. It was almost as if they were having a social gathering, catching up on the latest donkey gossip. I approached cautiously, not wanting to disturb their peace. And they did not look happy to see me. They started braying and kicking up dust. The sudden commotion startled me and I realized I had intruded on their territory. Their loud brays were a clear warning to back off, and the dust they kicked up made it hard to see. I knew I had to retreat quickly. I swear, one of them gave me the side eye. It was a look of pure suspicion, as if I had some ulterior motive for being there. The intensity of its gaze made me feel like I was being judged. I decided it was best to leave them be and continue on my way, hoping my next encounter would be less dramatic. The long walk back, a mirage or a miracle. The African savannah stretched out before me, a vast expanse of golden grasses and acacia trees bathed in the warm hues of the setting sun. It was a sight to behold, a moment that felt almost surreal. Finally, I reached the dam. No hippos, thank goodness. The waterhole was calm, a mirror reflecting the sky above. I could almost hear the collective sigh of relief from my parched body. I filled up the water bottle, feeling like I'd conquered Mount Everest. Each drop was a victory, a testament to my perseverance. The cool water felt like liquid gold in my hands. The walk back to the jeep felt even longer. Every step was a challenge, my legs heavy with exhaustion. The path seemed to stretch endlessly, a never-ending journey through the wilderness. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. The colors were vibrant, almost too beautiful to be real. It was as if the sky itself was putting on a show just for me. Beautiful, but also a little ominous. The encroaching darkness brought with it a sense of foreboding. The savannah, so full of life during the day, now seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the night to take over. Like the calm before the lion's dinner rush. The air was thick with anticipation, the sounds of the day giving way to the whispers of the night. Every rustle in the grass made my heart race. By the time I got back to the jeep, I was exhausted, sunburned, and smelling like a zoo. My clothes clung to me, drenched in sweat and dust. Every muscle in my body ached, but I had made it. But hey, I had the water, that precious, life-saving water. It was a small victory, but in that moment it felt monumental. I held the bottle up like a trophy, a symbol of my small triumph over the harsh elements. Big Jim and Carl were arguing about something. Their voices carried over the savannah, a stark contrast to the serene landscape. It was almost comical, the way they bickered like an old married couple. Probably whose fault it was that we broke down in the first place. The jeep, our lifeline in this vast wilderness, sat there like a wounded beast. Its silence was a reminder of our vulnerability. They stopped arguing when they saw me, their faces lit up with a mix of relief and surprise. For a moment, the tension melted away, replaced by a shared sense of accomplishment. We had made it through another day in the wild. Relief, ridicule, and rehydration. "About time, Ronny," Big Jim said, grabbing the water bottle. "We were starting to think you'd run off with a giraffe." Carl just laughed. They poured the water into the radiator, and after a few tries, the engine sputtered back to life. We were saved, for now at least. As we drove away, I couldn't help but think that maybe, just maybe, this hunting trip wasn't such a good idea after all. But hey, at least I had a story to tell. And trust me, it's even funnier in person. Join the laughter, share your safari stories. So what do you think? Ever had a close encounter of the animal kind? Share your stories in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more hilarious adventures with me, Kevin Hart, and my crazy crew. Stay tuned, because things are about to get wild.